Alright, what's up guys? Today we're doing a new deck profile for Ancient Gears. Ancient Gears do have a brand new Link monster, as you can see here. Ancient Gear Ballista. This just came out in Duel Overload. Really good card, really fixes a lot of the problems in the deck, but let's get started on this deck profile. We've got, to start off, 3 copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern. This card actually searches virtually every card in the deck. It searches an Ancient Gear card. And then for the rest of the turn, you can't set cards, which isn't like a grave restriction because this is a going second card, so it doesn't matter. And then when it attacks, your opponent can't activate basically our monster effects, which all of the Ancient Gears have one of those effects or stipulations. Then we've got 2 copies of Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. This one basically, after it attacks or anytime it battles, it gets to pop a spawn trap card on the field, which can be your spawn trap cards, which can trigger more of your effects, or it can be your opponent's spawn trap cards, which can help get rid of back row, which is one of the real issues with the deck, is getting rid of back row. We've got 1 copy of Ancient Gear Ultimate Pound because we are playing the Ancient Gear Fusion card. It's important in the deck. 1 copy of Ancient Gear Golem. And then we've got, like I said, these are just for the Ancient Gear Fusion OTK. You got to put 1 on field so you can send materials from your deck. It's a lot more useful. Then we've got 2 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. This card basically, it inflicts 600 life points on summon, and then on top of that it lets you fusion summon using itself and materials out of your hand or field, which is really cool. Then we've got Ancient Gear Box. This is a really good card because it's basically a +1. So this card, when you add it from your hand or from your deck to your hand or from the graveyard to your hand, you can reveal it and then add another monster that's a machine earth with 500 attack or defense, which is basically, it turns every time it searches into a +1 and gives you free basically fusion materials and all types of stuff like that. It's really good for that purpose. Got 2 copies of Ancient Gear Frame, one of the cards you can search. This lets you search the Ancient Gear Fusion. 1 Infinitrack's Anchor Drill, and this also is one of the cards you can search. Basically this card, when it's normal special summon, it lets you summon another Earth Machine monster from your hand defense position, so it lets you kind of bring out more stuff. And the Earth Machine that you can bring out actually can be any level, so it can be level 10, it doesn't matter. But it's really good for that. And then we play 2 copies of Super Express Bullet Train. This card is really good with a certain card we're playing, which is called Urgent Schedule. So basically this is one of the cards that you can special summon off of that. You can summon this if you just control a machine. If all the monsters you control are Earth Machines, you can special summon it for free. And then also during the end phase, you can, if this card is in the graveyard and it was sent there that turn, you can add a Earth Machine from your graveyard back to your hand, which is really cool. And one of the cool things that you can do is you can use, for example, you can use the Urgent Schedule to summon the Ancient Gear Box and Super Express Bullet Train, and then you can link these 2 away for an Ancient Gear Ballista, and then during the end phase you can activate Bullet Train in the graveyard to add back the Gearbox, and then with the Gearbox you can search out, for example, the Frame, so it gives you free pluses at the end phase, which is really nice. But yeah, I like that card a lot. But that is the Ancient Gear Bullet Train. The Super Express Bullet Train. And then it needs to send 2 cards to the graveyard to attack, but you're basically never going to attack with this thing. You're just going to link it away. Now for our last monster, we play 1 copy of True King, Elithosagam the Disaster. I think this card is really good for the deck. You play a lot of Earths, and you go +1, +2 a lot in the deck. So you could just pop the 2 Earths, and basically this deck doesn't have a lot of going first place. This is one of the only going first place. You basically just activate this, you pop 2 Earth monsters, you summon it, you banish cards out of their extra deck, and then on top of that, you can just summon in another level 9, like for example, the Reactor Dragon, and then go to a True King of Calamities. And that's about as good of a going first play as you can really have in this deck. But those are all of the monsters. For the spells, we play 2 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion. Awesome card, lets you fusion summon from the extra deck, and it's super duper searchable. It's searchable with Gear Frame, and it's searchable with the Wyvern, which is really nice. You play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Fortress. This is a card that you want to pop and then just basically get free effects, but also it gives you protection during the turn. If it's on the field, it gives you protection if you summon like an Ancient Gear monster that turn, which is really good. Play 3 copies of just Gear Town. Basically, this is another card. If it gets destroyed, And you have cards to destroy your own card effects. Basically, when it gets destroyed, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, and it is searchable with Ballista, Ancient Gear Ballista. But what's awesome about Ballista is that you search it, put it on the field, and then he has another effect that'll let you pop it that same turn, which is super cool. We play 3 copies of Ancient Gear Catapult, one of the cards you need to pop stuff, 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, 3 copies of Power Bond. Power Bond is disgusting in this deck. You summon basically a 9,000 attack monster that attacks all your opponent's monsters and you win. 1 copy of Overload Fusion. 3 copies of Urgent Schedule. I'm missing one. I ordered it actually over a month ago and I'm still in a dispute with the seller. I just don't want to order another one because I need that one to come in. Then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Your extra deck is really, there's only like 5 or so monsters that you need to play in your extra deck. The rest is all random utility stuff. And I know it's expensive, but I have it for another deck anyway, so I thought it just really serves the purpose well on this deck. And then we play 3 copies of Twin Twisters. Twin Twisters is a very good and versatile card. I think for this particular deck, it might be a little bit better than playing the Lightning Storms, because with Lightning Storm, it does pop back row, and back row is probably your biggest enemy, but what I like about Twin Twisters is sometimes you can pop your own and go off if you really need to, but Twin Twisters is actually really good in the deck. Now for the extra deck, we play 2 copies of the new card Ancient Gear Ballista Squad. Ancient Gear Ballista. This card's really good. So basically, like I said before, on summon, unless you add an Ancient Gear monster or a Gear Town, and then you can target a spell and trap card you control, and then a monster your opponent controls. Make that monster 0, and then pop the spell and trap card. So it serves a lot of purposes, because it pops all of those spell and trap cards that I showed earlier, and it basically pops the Gear Town that you just searched. So it's like, you search a Gear Town on summon, and then you get to pop it, and then special summon anything you want, which is really cool. So yeah, it really does help the deck. Play 1 copy of Cross Sheep. You don't go into this as much as the Gear Town, as much as the Ballista. I might replace this with a 3rd Ballista. I'm still like working on the full build, but Cross Sheep I found to be actually pretty decent in the deck, to be quite honest with you. We play 2 copies of True King of All Calamities. This is basically a level 9. It's your going first play. Most of the time you won't banish all of them, so you're good. 2 copies of Ancient Gear Megaton Golem. This is the one that attacks a million times. It's really good for the deck. 2 copies of Ultimate Gear Golem. This is what you float into from the Megaton. 2 copies of Howitzer. And definitely 3 copies of the Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. This is like your big main monster. You gotta play 3. This one attacks all your opponent's monsters. It's unaffected by spells. It's unaffected by traps. It is like really good for that. And if you summon it if you summon it and you have the Ancient Gear Fortress on the field, there's virtually nothing anyone can do about it, because they can't be targeted, they can't be destroyed, and your opponent can't respond to its effects. So you just basically summon this, and then you have the Ancient Gear Fortress. You attack all of your opponent's monsters, and they can't target it. Like, it's almost impossible for your opponent to get rid of it. But that's it. Thank you for watching. This has been the Ancient Gear deck profile. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a like, and thank you for watching.